BSM. I was going to say BDSM. I'm like, no, that's not it. Don't search that. Hey, welcome to Super Social Club. I'm Jeremy.
This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob.
Welcome to the Whisky Rant Podcast.
It's a little crusty.
It's frustrating.
And it's going to be a little bit of a rant.
I don't understand it. I don't know why.
Some sort of injustice.
Anyway, end rant. Hello and welcome back to the Whisky Rant Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Rob.
And today, talking about the LCBO lottery just happened. 95% of people got an email saying you didn't get shit all.
Nothing. Including
myself.
It's probably like 98% of people.
You're right. Yeah, it's probably like 100% of people. Almost 100%. We're talking about, the chase for whiskey, for rare whiskey. Is it even worth it anymore? Are you getting burnt out from the whiskey game these days? I know that I am, for sure.
Dude, we talked about this recently and I was live last week and we talked about it in the rant.
Yeah.
Just how I don't know how much longer I have doing it. And it's coming directly from the chase. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why as guys we usually settle down with one girl, get married and move on. Because the chase is exhausting.
Right?
It's just an exhausting day-to-day hunt, and that it's just not worth it.
Yeah. So recently, if you're not aware, the LCBO puts in the BTAC, the Pappy Van Winkle, some other things as well. There's Mr. Sam this year, some other rare bourbons, some rare whiskeys find its way into the lottery once a year, and everyone puts in through an online order form. And today, the day we're recording this, was the day where everyone got the results.
Yeah.
I was 0. Across the board.
Mm-hmm. And my aunt won. Thanks, Zia. My aunt won me a Old Rip Van Winkle.
Very nice. So Old Rip 10. And we'll talk about the secondary market for those things nowadays because it is insane. But yeah, really kind of how you have to play this lottery is you get all your family and friends to fill out forms, to sign up, to make a vintages account.
Yeah.
I know guys, really, to be competitive, you really need 50 to 100 accounts to get stuff.
If you're gonna get multiple things, for sure, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I usually get around 10 of my family members to help me out.
Yeah.
And I usually land one thing a year. Yeah.
Yeah, I know someone who gets all of his work staff to sign up for him, and I'm talking 100 legit accounts.
Wow. And
it's really only the way to because I don't know whether they really released the numbers, but I know there was at least 50,000 to 75,000 entries for about 70 bottles total. I mean, they get 3 or 4 Pappy 23s. They get a couple cases of whatever. It's 50 to 60 bottles of Old Rip 10. It's not that much.
No,
right?
it's not much.
Very very limited.
The entire thing maybe total is 200 bottles.
Yeah, it's very very small.
Yeah.
I mean, even they do have Weller 12, Weller 107, which they would get a decent amount of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, those weren't in this lottery though. The 12 and the 107. It was the crappy stuff that was in this one was the E.H. Taylor and the Stag Juniors.
Okay, right.
So which I feel bad for anybody that
crappy stuff. I mean, that's still good bourbon.
Still good stuff, but I mean, when you put those two in your option list, the likelihood is they're gonna go to your list and see, okay, well, this person has blah blah blah. You know what? He chose the Stag Junior. We'll give him a Stag Junior.
I wonder how they actually do it. If they go okay, here's Pappy 23. There's 4 bottles, and they randomly select one person, and then that name comes out.
Yeah.
And they go to the next thing. Because if it's that, or if it's
you would hope.
If you get one bottle, then you're out of the drawing for the remainder of the bottles.
Well, that year that I happened to win 2 things, paid with the same credit card and lost both because I was an idiot. And
that's the one way the LCBO does limit multiple accounts from the same person is if you have to have the credit card has to match the name on the account, right? If I'm paying for my bottle that I won plus some my brother, he won and I pay for his bottle, that's a red flag and it comes up.
They'll cancel both your bottles.
Because essentially what they're saying is that you've made illegitimate accounts.
That's right. Which everybody does, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Otherwise, you're going to get nailed like I did that.
Sure. Yeah, and then those bottles would go back into the circulation and be drawn again.
Yeah. I think that year I was lucky enough to win 3 things, but 2 of them got canceled out on me, which was a big kick in the nuts.
So lesson learned.
Oh,
I could have told you that.
I think I knew. I was like, I don't know.
Right.
Panic mode, and then just, I don't know what the hell I did.
Honestly, like, I used to get excited for this, and now I'm just like, I might not even enter it anymore, honestly, because it's just like, it's just a routine that you go through. You sign up, you put your stupid crap in there, and then you get an email saying you got nothing. And it's just like, that's happened to me for the last 7 years straight.
Yeah. Yeah, so Paulo usually gets jacked up for this, our buddy.
He gets jacked up.
He gets jacked up for this, and he motivates me to want to do it, but like I'm so done with it that like he's like, come on, are you gonna do it? You're gonna do it, whatever. So he convinced me to do it this year, and usually what we'll do is we'll put in a whole bunch together and then see what we win and divvy it up. But this year I'm like, you know what? Don't rely on me because I don't even know if I'm gonna do it. If I do it, it's gonna be last minute. Yeah. So he ended up winning a couple things too, though. So
well, that's good because I know like I follow some secondary groups, some whiskey groups, and it's just the memes that come out. Everyone's like, ranting about how they missed out and got nothing, zeros across the board. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
It is, and whatever, it is what it is. I mean, if you're only putting in one account and you're one of the few honest people when it comes to this kind of stuff, then kudos to you, but I feel bad because you're never gonna win.
Congrats to the people that won, and if you won something and you've never tried that bourbon before, go ahead and crack it open and try it out. If it's a Pappy, if it's a BTEC, something like that, try it out with some friends. It's a great experience. Like it's something that a lot of people would love to check off their bucket list as far as whiskey's concerned. Yep. And if you have tried it before and you know what to expect, then I don't really see any issue flipping that stuff in the secondary and buying a lot of whiskey that you really do enjoy. Well,
I did crack a bottle of the Old Rip, and I've reviewed it on this channel, or my channel anyway. What was that, like 3-4 years? No, 4. It was at the Old House, so 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago. Yeah. So it's been a while, but I did open that. I've opened... Or actually, I think in a trade I acquired with Peter White the Van Winkle 12, or maybe he just lent it to me to do a review. I can't remember how that worked out. Cracked a William LaRue Weller before. Yeah. We've cracked a couple George T. Staggs before. Yeah. So I've cracked most stuff that, and you've cracked Pappy 15, Pappy 20, and Pappy 23. So... Yeah, that's more than...
I've had a couple Pappy 15s that were well shared with the Patreons. Yeah, for sure.
So there you go.
Yeah, it's great to experience those things. Obviously everyone knows that they're not worth what you can get on secondary, and I mean, if you want to sell it for crazy money and get a bunch of different stuff that you like, I don't really see an issue with that. Yeah. Because there's someone out there that will pay it.
Absolutely.
While we're on the topic of the LCBO, we should mention some things from the last episode we did. Because I think I made one error. There was talk of the Macallan, the 1926 Fine and Rare. Yeah. And I said that it had dropped in value by like 400,000 or something. Okay. Different bottle. We were talking, there was a different bottle. So the one that went for the super high amount of money, like the all-time record, 1.4 million pounds, was the more limited artist edition. And the one that I researched, the 1926, it was just the regular Macallan standard Fine and Rare label. All right. So I just wanted to correct that. So it didn't drop a crazy amount in secondary. It was a different bottle.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. I mean, it was a cool story when you did that.
Right? It sounded like great. That was a great story. Yeah, so different bottles. Even though the article it looked the same to me. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. But it was a different bottle. The Chase. We talked about it in last episode. I went around to 2 different stores trying to find that Blue Spot Irish whiskey, which I kind of thought was worth it. Yeah. I spent a lot of time. $100. Yeah, I mean it was a good deal. Yeah. And it did take me a lot of time, but frustrating, really frustrating, and more frustrating for people that didn't get it.
Oh yeah, big time.
And the Macallans that came out too, right? Recently, in the exact same situation that happened, right?
Yep.
And you know more about that because I'm sitting this one out. I'm not going to go chase these Macallans down. I know that they're decently priced, and maybe we should adjust our LCBO sucks ticker and maybe reverse a couple points because we should be fair.
Okay.
The LCBO did have a good price on that blue spot.
It's a good price.
They did have a pretty decent price on these Macallans.
True.
But I was not interested in chasing these down. You did buy a couple.
I did. I got it. I mean, I reviewed it. If you're watching this, and you've probably already watched that video, or if it's already up if you want to. You know what? The Macallan price, I have no qualms about the pricing on the blue spot and the Macallan. They got a decent amount of both.
Yeah.
My issue was the way they did it.
Right.
You know, I think this is just a no-brainer at this point. Like, throw it online. Yeah. Give it a week. If it doesn't sell out online, then throw it to whatever store wants it. But at least, if you throw it online, everybody gets a chance, and you might sell it out. You might sell out in like 3 seconds, and it's minimal legwork for them because they're selling it before they're moving it to a store.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that's the way they should really do it. And I think someone made a comment about, we were talking about the vintages and the wine that was coming out, and they do it in a more fair way. Like, you get the newsletter, like, these are the wines that are coming out, and then you place your order online. Yep. And I think that would be a more fair way of doing it. If they have more orders than bottles, then they just randomly draw.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean...
And a more fair way of doing it even still, like, let's say that you missed out on this Macallan. Let's say your chances of getting something that comes out next time are greater, right? So it's like you got a bottle, maybe your name goes to the bottom of the list, and people that haven't got anything yet go to the top, and then their names are drawn before yours are. Yeah. Like, there's way more fair ways of doing this.
Absolutely.
And it's not really thought through, and like these Macallans, right? It's like, is it one per customer? I don't know. It depends on the store, depends on the manager that day, depends on if they've read the freaking brief. I don't know.
It's true, and it actually changed within 3 days, because what happened, they released that Macallan, probably about 200 bottles they released of it in like 3 days. Every store that got it sold out in minutes.
Right, so the Macallan we're talking about is the, which one again?
The Harmony, Rich Cacao.
All right, and then the other one was...
the first collection, and the blue spot is the 7-year-old. Is it that the other one?
Well, what's the other Macallan I'm talking about?
The other Macallan... I didn't buy it. I didn't care for it.
We'll throw it up. Well, they will be on the screen already, so you'll see what you're talking about.
Something, I don't know.
We'll put it on the screen. If you're listening on podcast.
Some gimmicky bullshit that is like 40% alcohol.
Okay.
Whatever. Nothing.
Right.
Trash. No, the Harmony is really good though. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, you scored it pretty high.
I think it was a high score,
for what I was maybe thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, I was not interested in chasing that down. I definitely could have, but like, I didn't want to drive somewhere and come up short because it's annoying. Toronto downtown traffic is it's annoying to navigate through.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Especially if it's a bad weather day, like it was. Our good buddy Casey was like, "Hey man, are you gonna grab some? Can you hit me up?" I'm like, I would, but I'm not chasing these down. Like I'm not feeling. I'm like, I'm going to work soon. It's just like it's too much.
It wasn't easy to get. That was the problem. Yeah. Like, and you're in the downtown core, so it's like maybe a little easier for you than me, because it seems like.
Well, there's lots of stores close by, like close distance.
Yeah.
But to get to those stores, it's not easy. You still got to find street parking. Right. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah.
Wrong choice of words. Closer, but not necessarily easy.
It's not more convenient, right? Yeah. It's not a big box store you can just drive into, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I guess now's a good time to introduce what we have on the table over here. Mm-hmm. We have the Two Brewers Release 28, which is their special finishes, matured in sherry and Hungarian oak toasted with, Hungarian oak and sherry. This drinks for me like an Irish whiskey.
I was just going to say, the fruit notes, like the tropical fruit note I'm getting on the finish of this is insane.
I love it.
And I'm like, where is this coming from?
Whatever, eventually I'm going to pick a barrel out of Two Brewers. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. In the works, talking to them about it, talking to a store to see if they can collaborate. And I want this profile. I want something along these. Like, this reminds me a little bit of, remember that Release 24 that I loved?
Yes.
So that was a 10-year-old expression. I don't know how old this one is. I'm going to say that there's a combination of maybe like 7 to 12, right? Because, you know, they're as old as 12 now. Like this Release 29 is a single cask 12-year-old.
Yeah.
But the 28, I don't know, they can do this whenever they want, it seems like. And like the description on the back is bang on. It says like mango, papaya.
Yeah.
There's like, it's just beautiful. I love it. I love that profile in a whiskey. I don't know, I'm a big fan.
Are we contributing this to maybe that Hungarian cask? Like, were they using ex-bourbon and then they finished it in sherry and Hungarian?
It's possible, but I do know that the only time I remember them aging in sherry where I got this note was at Release 24.
Yeah.
There's PX casks in that Release 24, but it has something to do with the way their grain interacts with their stills. They use malted and unmalted barley, I believe. Or maybe not. I think it's all malted because they use a lot of their stuff for beer. So they use a lot of the malts that they're getting from, like, for beers as well. They use chocolate malts. They use like all sorts of different types of malt grains to put in here. But I don't know. I don't know what it is. Honestly, they're mad scientists. These guys are like, I'm pretty sure I know I've heard the story a few times, but I'm pretty sure Bob and Alan, if I'm not mistaken, are the two co-owners, also involved in like distilling and whatever else. I think they're engineers, if I'm not mistaken. Right. And yeah,
they have that really kind of unique way of brewing that is kind of replicated in beer brewing from somewhere in Europe, right? Mm-hmm. You can read up about it if you don't have a if you have a chance.
A German style, I think.
Yeah, they've kind of incorporated distilling for whiskey with this kind of technique, and it's kind of unique in that way. And you should read up on it because we won't be able to explain it as well as they have it on their website. So check that out.
I would like to get them on the channel eventually and have like just Bob explain it. You know what I mean? Because I think that would be great for everybody to watch. These guys are entering into a category for me where they compete with some of the best whiskeys in the world for me. Like.
Well, we know your love for Two Brewers. It is not. It has been shared quite often, and it's for good reason. Yeah,
I mean, the way I'm trying to like express this to you guys is that like these guys are no longer just a really good Canadian single malt. This is just a really good world whiskey, in my opinion. Like something that people need to experience, and I know it's not easy to. That's the problem, but the combination of things they're doing there with their mountain, ice, glacier water and stuff like that, because they're in Yukon, right? Yeah. So but I believe that all their aging facility is indoors, so it's not really getting exposed to winter at all, which it's cold in Yukon, right? But it's a heated facility, so the facility I believe. He told me it never gets lower than 16 or 17 degrees inside. Yeah. Ever.
We're talking Celsius.
Celsius, yeah.
So that's about what's that for our American friends?
High 60s?
60, around 60 Fahrenheit. Yeah, something like that.
Is it low 60s maybe?
Around there.
Yeah.
I think 22 degrees Celsius is around 70 Fahrenheit.
Okay, fair enough. So then, yeah. So in the 60 to 75 range annually, throughout the year, right? Never drops lower than that. So that's pretty good for whiskey aging when you compare it to Scotland, that never probably exceeds 75 and there's times where it's much colder.
Sure, yeah. I mean, all things being equal, the hotter it is, the quicker the whiskey's going to age. Yeah. Yeah, these really this batch released 28. I'm really gravitating towards this. I think the finish on this thing is super complex, and those tropical fruits, you do not expect that, and then it hits you, and you're like, what has happened here?
Yeah, and this is 46%, but the viscosity on it's great. And the other one's cask strength. Like I said, it's 12 years old, and I really do enjoy the Release 29. but not as much.
Yeah.
Not as much. And despite the fact that it's cask strength, which, you know, we both really gravitate towards cask strength stuff. But
here you go, ladies and gentlemen. Rob is saying that he prefers a 46 over a cask strength.
Yeah, it's happening.
Right?
It's happened a few times this year already.
Narby's mind will be blown.
I know. I actually really want Narby to try Two Brewers. I'm going to send him, when I do my barrel pick, I'm going to send him a bottle. I'm going to send him a bottle. This way he can try it. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about chasing stuff down and how it's getting tiresome for us. This stuff is fun to chase down. Because there's not like this hype around this,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Right? It's like they have all these different releases and they're all kind of different. And, you know, you try one and you're like, okay, now I got to find this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's holding this batch? Like, release 24, right? That one was a super popular release.
Yep.
Even some stuff like Shelter Point has some really unique barrel pick single cask that like Kensington Wine Market did. Like, that bottle was super sought after as well, right? So like those kind of things, like chasing that down is cool because you're not paying a crazy amount of secondary markup because it's not as popular.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think for me, like, that's where I'm at with chasing whiskey now.
Yes.
Like, I want to chase like stuff down like this. I don't want to chase down bourbons and scotches that are inflated to the point where it's not worth drinking them.
I totally agree, man. Like, I'm so fed up with the grind that the other day I'm like, you know what? Like, I'm not even gonna, like, I spent like $1,000 on Vinart's website. Like, I just like, give me all these independent bottles. I got like 6 bottles or whatever it was for a really good price, like based on like age and ABV and all these different things.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to fight anybody for it. I didn't have to call the stores and say, hey, do you have this in stock? I just went on a website, made my list, sent it to them. Done. You know what I mean?
See, like, the cool thing about this is, like, if you do find someone on the secondary group that has a bottle, you know, maybe you give them, like, you know, $75 for their hassle. You pay the extra shipping costs. It costs you, you know, a little bit more money, but it's worth it.
Exactly.
Because the juice in there is worth that money.
I agree. And the thing is I want to know, I really want to know how these would perform in a blind tasting, because I think they would do really, really well.
Yeah.
I really do. I think they would do really well. Some more than others, obviously. Each release is different. They have 4 different types of releases. It says here on the back. Classic, which is, I think, just bourbon. Sorry, I touched the mic. I don't know if that's going to screw up the sound a little bit, but...
No, we're still good.
We're still good?
Yeah.
The classic, I believe, is all bourbon cask. The peated, which is a peated malt imported from Scotland, I believe. Mm-hmm. Then the special finishes, which is this one here, and innovative, which is the one that won single malt of the year a couple of years ago in Canada.
Okay.
It's that, like, just they do funky things to their grain, their casking, whatever, right? Yeah. So every release is one of those 4, and they do 4 in a row each time. So I think they do it 3 times a year.
Right.
And so they come out with 1 a month.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it lots of times. You know, Canadian single malts really making headways and doing very unique, delicious stuff. And we can't say enough good things about it.
Absolutely.
Other than just, like, we need them to push this stuff into more markets, you know?
You know what, though? Like, and this is where we become our own enemy. And I was talking to a good friend of ours recently, Whiskey Throttle. And he's got a good point. Like, we do this so we can share information and all these things, and it's great, and we're helping people. But in that process, we become our own enemy because we are making our own competition.
Sure.
Which is fine, and obviously you want companies like Two Brewers to grow, and if they can, if they can sustain that kind of, like, release where they would release some in Canada, some in the US, some in Europe or whatever, and everybody's kind of happy, then great. But the likelihood is, once these guys get popular, and we're talking like global popularity, the more difficult they're going to be to get.
Yeah.
Right? Right now we can get them because really only people in Canada, I think only recently they started sending stuff to like France or something like that. But pretty much only people in Canada can get this stuff. Mm-hmm. So the competition is not insane yet.
Right.
But it will be.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it will be. And we'll see. Like, you don't really see this stuff pop up in secondary groups. I mean, some guys will, be like, I'm in search of this specific thing. Is anyone holding it? And then, you get a thing. But there's not really like, I'm putting up my Two Brewers release, for a lotto or something like that. We can talk about secondary market groups. And let's talk about this old Rip Van Winkle that you're getting from the LCBO lottery and what you think you can get for this. So looking up on Bourbon Secondary Market Value Reference, which is, it used to be Bourbon Secondary Market, which was the biggest, or one of the biggest, Facebook groups that did secondary market bourbon stuff before it got shut down by the Van Winkle family, essentially.
Oh, wow.
They were kind of behind that, and their lawyers put pressure on Facebook, and Facebook really kind of shut it down.
I'm surprised that Van Winkle takes that much action in shutting down these secondary markets. Why do they care so much? It only fuels their...
This is a whole other rant we can get into, but really, the secondary groups did a great job of sniffing out fakes, and they did a really good job of networking and looking at bottle codes and being like, this bottle code is a fake, this person's a fake, and they spread that information around more so than anyone else could. Mm-hmm. And they did a really good job of that, and that's one unfortunate thing. And I think the Van Winkle family was very misguided. I mean, stuff's still going to sell in secondary whether you like it or not.
Right.
Putting pressure on these groups, I mean, whatever. Anyway, this group turned into a value reference, so people could just without posting stuff for sale or for lotto, they could be like, this is what the current market price of this is. And that's what we use when we look up stuff on secondary, because it's a very real world accurate representation of bourbon in America and U.S. prices.
Yeah.
So, Old Rip Van Winkle, 2021 release. You know how much it goes for. It's gone up double since we probably were drinking this stuff.
Yeah, since I opened the bottle, this is more than double.
More than double.
Right. I think back then, if I were to flip that bottle, I would have got $400 for it.
Yeah. So recently, as far as a couple months ago, Old Rip Van Winkle 10 was selling for between $950 to $1,100 US, which is insane.
It's mind blowing.
Insane that you can get $1,300 Canadian.
That's crazy.
For that Old Rip Van Winkle.
And it makes it that much harder to open, doesn't it?
Sure.
Because what do you compare that to in the Scotch world?
$1,300.
What's a $1,300 whiskey right now? You can buy Springbank 25. You can buy a Springbank 25 and a 21. Yeah. You know what I mean? So right there, I'm doing that all day. You know what I mean? I'm not.
And those whiskeys are almost overpriced, right?
And they are overpriced.
Sure.
I mean, depending on which batch you get, maybe you're gonna get a crazy good batch one day, but usually they are. And I mean, put it this way, you're halfway to a Aurora with one Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year-old.
Sure. Yeah.
You're halfway to a Aurora.
Yeah, and a Aurora being a mothballed distillery for upwards of almost 30 years now.
Yeah, and we're talking about a company that people marvel over. This is the whiskey geek heaven type whiskey. You know what I mean? It's on people's bucket list for sure. You know what I mean? So
versus a bourbon that comes out every single year that has lots of bottles of it, and it's nothing special.
I will never understand the logic.
Really nothing. It's a 10-year-old bourbon.
Yeah, it's a good whiskey. Don't get me wrong. I remember doing that review, and I said something as crazy as this is probably the best bourbon I've had and I was including William LaRue Weller or something like that. And I went back to the William LaRue Weller, and I decided that I liked that better. Yeah. But for the secondary prices and all that other stuff, I was this is really good stuff. Yeah. That being said, it's still bourbon.
But hey, you know what? You can't fault people for making the investment, because honestly, so many people have made so much money.
Oh,
so much money.
They're putting their kids through college with this stuff.
whiskey has been a better investment than pretty much anything else you could really think of. And you think the bubble's going to burst on it, and you still think it's going to burst, but is it really going to burst? Because I don't think it actually is going to.
That bottle over your shoulder, that Springbank 10-year-old local barley.
Yeah.
That's got, like, on its last legs right there.
Right.
Do you know what the secondary market on that bottle is now?
Yeah, it's like 1,300, right?
1,300 euro. 1,300 euro.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, like, I don't know, like, someone's got to buy this stuff, though. Yeah. And someone's buying this stuff at that price, assuming it's just going to go up from there.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to open it at that price.
No.
So, I don't know.
Unless you're super wealthy and you're just like, I don't care what it costs, I just want to drink this bourbon because people think it's good.
Yeah.
And you have the disposable income to do that, no one's opening this stuff. And if you are, and you're not super wealthy, you are 1,000% disappointed with whatever you taste.
Exactly. Like if that was your, like, when I turn 50, God knows what's gonna happen to me when I'm 51. I'm opening this crazy bottle of Pappy Van Winkle 20, and you're like,
yeah.
You spend like $3,000 on this thing on secondary, whatever it is. You open it on your 50th birthday, and you're like, what?
I brought up my bottle of Pappy 20-year-old to a cottage with my high school friends. Some of them I've known since like my oldest of old friends.
Yeah.
Right. And I poured out 8 glasses of Pappy 20, handed it to everyone. Everyone's drinking it. No one's saying anything. No one's like, "Oh my god, this is so good." They're just like, "This is one of the most sought after bourbons in the world."
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know, man. I think it's pretty good, but it's like it's not gonna blow your mind away.
No.
And no one was like, "Oh my god, this is so good."
Nobody.
Right?
No, I've never watched an experience of someone drinking a Pappy and they were like mind blown. I've never seen that.
Jump to the clip of me cracking that bottle and taking it first, because I was actually pretty impressed with it. I have never tried the 20-year-old before. Obviously, this bottle is still sealed. But you know what? I'm a firm believer that all whiskey should be opened and enjoyed. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to crack this bottle and open it up and see what we got here. So good. So good. Wow. I'm going to spend some time with this bottle. I'm going to let it oxidize a bit and look forward to my review on this one. It is so good, guys. Really, really good. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate it. Cheers. Yeah.
Okay, so
it was really good.
The 20 is really good.
The 20 is really good.
Did we open that together?
Nah, I don't know. I opened it on a video because I was like, I don't even know what video it was. I'm going to have to go back in the library. Okay. But I opened it on camera and took a sip. And I'm like, this is really, really good.
So we did the 23 on on the live that launched you from my channel to your new channel.
We drank some 23. And we gave some away.
We also drank crazy stuff that night.
Yeah, we were drinking lots of BTAC stuff.
Yeah.
And we were drinking Springbank, Local Barley 16. We were drinking some crazy Tomatin 32. We had 20 drams that night.
We went hard that night.
That was like a 6-hour live.
That was you crashed on the couch that night and hung out with the fish. Yeah.
I swam with the fishes.
The Tyrannosaurus Rex toy was talking to us.
Yeah, you had that toy that was motion activated and would scare the shit out of you. In the middle of the night, this T-Rex just lights up. And
it was just glitchy. I don't even think it was motion activated. I think it was just
really? It was possessed.
It was possessed for sure.
That's even scarier.
Good thing you didn't know that then.
If you think back and think about all of the stupid hyped bourbon that we've drank, shared, and how much it was when we were drinking it and how much it goes for now, we would never drink it.
No,
right?
Never. How can you?
I am freaking opening up Pappy 15s for my $5 Patreons and pouring them samples. And what? Why am I doing this? I'm taking a bath on this stuff.
Oh, 100%.
But obviously it's great because
You're sharing.
It's nice. Like people that would never get a chance to maybe try it unless they're shelling out huge money get to try it, which is great, and I think that's fine. I don't have any regrets.
It is great, yeah.
But honestly, like if I've known where that bottle is gonna be, I would sell it and bring more stuff to my Patreons that I think is better.
I mean, if you think about it, the stuff that we've purchased over the last 6 years, we could probably, if we never opened the majority of it, we could sell it all in one shot and like literally host an event. I'm not exaggerating here. Yeah. We could host an event where, you know, we could probably fly a couple people in. We could probably have, you know, comped 500 people at this event.
Macallan original cast strength, right? Crack that bottle, share it with Patreons. Yep. Booker's Rye. The price on Booker's Rye, it went through the freaking roof and is still going through the roof.
What's Macallan Edition 1 going for these days?
Yeah, Macallan Edition 1, right? Crazy through the roof.
I opened probably about like 5.
Macallan Edition 2.
That's what I was going to say. I opened probably 5 Macallan Edition 2s.
I had, I think, 3 bottles of Macallan Edition 2, and I returned 2 of them to the LCBO for credit because I wanted to get something else. Because I was like, what do I care about Macallan Edition 2 for? I don't care about it.
I know, right?
Right? I'm like, whatever.
It's like $1,200 that
bottle. I was like, why don't I just blow my brains out?
It's okay, man. It happens to the best of us. It is what it is. We should probably get to scoring these bottles.
We should score these. Let me go first. I'm going to say this release 28, I crushed it. It's gone.
Yeah.
I drank it really quick. It's so good.
It's delicious.
The finish on it is really where it shines. It's super complex. And
fruity bubblegum, like crazy.
Yeah,
like, I don't even know what's going on there. It's nuts.
You know, you get this like cream soda kind of note to it, and like tropical fruits are coming in. It's a Frankenstein, and I'm here for it.
Digging it.
I'm like 88 and a half, I want to say. Like, it's up there.
Yeah.
It's really, really good, and I need to get a bottle of that. The 29, also very nice. It's not going to score as high as the 28.
No, I agree.
But I also do like it. It's probably like around like an 86 for me, I would say. But the 28, release 28 definitely shines through.
Yeah. 29 is more of your like... your caramels, your like that kind of stuff. It does say fruity notes on the bottle, but I'm thinking more like burnt sugar, like the stuff that you would expect from almost like a bourbon cask or virgin oak type scotch. That's kind of what I'm getting out of that one. Although it's not a scotch, obviously, it's a Canadian single malt.
Yeah.
But I would say, I think you're right. I think it's like an 85, 86. It's good, and it might get better, and it might have been better if we added a couple drops of water. Maybe it would have been a little bit fruitier. Because you do get the, like, on the nose, you do get, like, a back end of, like, fruit.
Right.
But not as much.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I think you're bang on with the 86. And then the 28, the release 28 is just, for me, it's stupid. I think this is this is a clear-cut 89 for me, and the reason why it's an 89 is because I'm definitely gonna buy another bottle of this.
Yeah.
And it's one of those like whiskeys that for the price, I put this up against like pretty much anything at that like $100.
Let's talk price. Do you know how much did you pay?
Yeah, so this was $150. So we're talking about this is a 12-year-old. Release 29 is a 12-year-old. So it's their earliest like barreled stuff.
Yeah.
So obviously, this is what like new distillery, right? So this is like probably year one.
Like their first stuff they laid down,
right?
Yeah.
So they haven't mastered their craft yet. They're still like working out the kinks and stuff like that. And that's 12 years old. Still very good at 12 years old. But then you have something like this that's probably a combination of like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
And blows it away, in my opinion. So 150 based on age mainly, and the fact that it's 56%.
Yeah.
I believe this is just over or just under $100.
Yeah.
So for $100, I think that's a great whiskey. I'll buy that all day.
I would buy it for 100 for sure.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, I would definitely give that an 89. I think like very like close to your marking, like 88, 89.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really wonder what this would have been like at cask strength. Because it reminds me a lot of that Release 24 that I absolutely adored.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Another couple of great releases from Two Brewers, and as long as Rob's on this podcast, we'll be showing you guys more Canadian single malt, I'm sure, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't bought any in quite some time, just because we've done a lot and like whatever. I mean, the podcast is. These are what we're drinking on the podcast, but it's not like our typical reviews where I feel like this is a good time to showcase it because like people tune in, I think, to hear what the subject's about, not necessarily the whiskey, but the whiskey's a highlight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we gotta be drinking something.
Yeah. I mean, this is
whiskey
a
podcast,
whiskey podcast.
Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want to support the podcast a little bit more, check out our Patreons. You can go to either of our Patreons, and for as little as $1, you can get this podcast sooner than anyone else.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for some Whisky Rant merchandise coming, sooner or later.
Maybe? Question mark?
Hopefully, yes. And yeah. Thanks again, guys. Really much appreciate it.
Stay classy.
Stay classy, San Diego. Cheers.
Cheers.
And I'm also a firm believer that whiskey should be shared as well. I think that's like one of the most fun parts about it. So not only, that was good. Not only am I going to pour myself a dram, I'm going to pour a dram for one of you guys as well. Little contest, giveaway. I'm going to pour a 1 ounce sample. One of you lucky guys or girls is going to win this